A lot of people think that successful couples are lucky. You just happen to find your right person, or, you found someone that cares like you do and all the things. Or they feel, oh, for you guys' personality, it works for you guys, but not necessarily for me. And it's a load of crap, to be honest, because success leaves clues. So if there's one successful couple out there, 2, 3, 4, and 5 out there that you may come across or see, that means they have a formula that's trackable and can be repeated as long as you learn what the key components are. So right now, I'm going to give you the 3 key traits that successful couples have that most do not. See, successful couples, they prioritize. It's a priority to have open and respectful communication. See, it's not just enough to live in your truth and be honest. It's all about how you deliver it as well, right? Always lead with love. So when they prioritize the openness and respectful way to approach issues, right? Not attacking each other, but, talking through it with, a general courtesy for one another, then now it puts them into position to address issues more constructively versus avoiding them, which is usually what starts to tank effective communication in relationships, when people start avoiding the conflict because they are either fearful about what their partner may think or say or how to react, or whenever it comes to talking through things, they don't want their partner to attack them, right? So you stop talking altogether. But when you feel respected and you can still live in your truth, then now you're willing to work through things more constructively because you don't feel like you're being attacked. You feel like it's something that's more collaborative, right? And so from that, that's what allows those successful couples to work as a team to work through issues and to have healthy arguments, right? To where it's more of a debate versus actual fighting, to where now they're viewing it as a team with a team member, right? Trying to figure out this issue and work through it, which makes them a lot more effective, and they wind up growing together versus growing apart and becoming more resentful of each other. And why do they start growing together? Well, because they're actually understanding each other, because they're trying to work to get and understand each other and see how can we work together, which then turns into unified shared growth versus individual growth and separation, right? And they can evolve together as a unit. And when these things are not done effectively in this way, that leads to disconnect, right? And then unresolved issues and unresolved conflict builds until it starts to really disrupt the relationship in major ways. And from doing this effectively, studies show that for an individual in a relationship, around 45% of their overall relationship satisfaction comes from how they perceive the relationship, how well they feel heard, understood, how well they feel like they can come to their partner and talk through things without it being an extremely uncomfortable process. So the ability to communicate effectively and transparently, respectfully, openly, and actually understand one another is humongous towards a successful relationship experience. Second key thing successful couples do is they have a much better balance of positive to negative interaction ratios, right? To where the average couple that maybe has a lot more obstacles and struggles and so forth has maybe even an equal amount of positive to negative interactions, or even worse, a lot more of the relationships out there that are really unhealthy have a ton of negative interactions and very few positive ones. But with successful couples, what studies have shown is that they have a much higher ratio of positive interactions to negative. So they have 5 positive interactions to every negative 1, which is humongous. And it creates way better balance, and it makes the overall experience a happier one and how they perceive the relationship versus a negative one. Because understand, naturally, we are pre-wired to look out for the negative, for the fear point. Our brains more easily adopt or lock on to focusing on the negative out of a means for survival. It's not some sick, twisted wiring of us just to be pessimistic or negative by nature, right? But we're extremely hyper focused and sensitive and aware of the negative to make sure we don't get harmed. Problem is that millions of years old of a wiring to our brains doesn't have the same applicable necessity as it once did all those years ago for the survival in nature, because we have society now. So now that your brain tries to apply those faculties to just your everyday world, which is your social world, which is your romantic life, right? Your romantic relationships. And so the same properties are at work. And so if you don't have intentional focus and awareness of what's going on, your relationship starts to slip into a negative space. Because if you have, let's say, for every negative interaction you have a positive one to where they offset each other. In reality, it's not offsetting it for you and your experience, because the negative experiences always scream a little bit louder, don't they? Right? It's what thing, how's it go? It takes 1,000 data boys to reverse one, oh, you're horrible, you screwed up miserably, right? Because we tend to lock on the thing that's wrong. And so if you're only having one positive to one negative experience, overall, you're probably going to look at your relationship as a negative one. Just like it's obvious, if you have a ton of negative experiences and one positive one, it gets so outshadowed, it's almost like it didn't even happen. And someone will ask you about your relationship and you may say, oh, it's horrible all the time, whenever there are little moments, whenever it's not, right? This is the same reason why you can be happy with your partner and having a good time, and it's that one thing they do or did or said, or that one moment that made you question some things and really feel away or feel violated or feel disrespected. And now you're really upset at them, and it takes a few conversations. Maybe you guys have to go to therapy, or it takes a while to get over, versus all the amazing moments you were just having a week prior or what have you, that just are fleeting now. You might start questioning whether they love you or care about you when they just went ahead and did something amazing for your birthday. But this crazy thing that happened the next week puts all that into question, because negative situations or moments will take more precedence in your mind naturally. So you have to have your ratio of positive to negative much higher on the positive side and a lot less negative. And the third biggest key that successful couples do that makes them have amazing relationships is they maintain a respect for each other's individuality and personal growth, to where they support each other's individual interests and hobbies and things that they want to do, while maintaining a healthy balance between shared activities, to make sure they're still living a life as a couple and not just as two individuals operating autonomously on their own without having any unity, right? And this is such a huge thing, and it's crucial because people forget and fail to realize you are an individual first, and you have things you love, you're interested in, and that fills your glass up and makes you that happy, amazing person that your partner fell in love with in the beginning, right? Like, it's so funny to me how we get into these relationships and then we start kind of fusing our lives with our partners, and we kind of lose sense of doing the things we used to do on our own or being an individual anymore. And then we wonder why we're not as happy within ourselves. Even if our partners are doing anything really wrong, we wonder why we're not fully satisfied with life for us, for our individual, experience. And it's because you stop being an individual on some level. And the very person you had to be to attract the partner that you have now, you're effectively not being that person anymore, because you don't actually maintain some of the individual elements of yourself that made them fall in love with you, right? This is why I always stress, you can't let your partner binge on you, and you shouldn't binge on them. Yes, have tons of time together. For different couples, maybe they spend more, time together as a couple versus others need less, right? Different strokes, different folks. But the point is, you have to have a clear, identified separation of when you are having me time versus having us time. That needs to be there, so you can feel like all of your spectrum's getting your full glass filled, because it's going to be very rare that you as an individual coming together with another individual and your partner are going to come together and everything that is you and everything that is them is going to fit harmoniously together. You're going to want to do it all together and everything else. Even at the end of the day, even if that could be true, you still need some time to where you just do it with you and for you. Your own space to think and just clear your mind, and just self-care, maintenance, right? Regulate your emotions and things without their influence in your equation for a minute. Just you and the inner child versus you and your partner in the equation. And so a lot of you have gotten away from still going out to do things by yourself and still having that thing that's just for you, that your partner doesn't have to be a part of, right? And this is the very biggest piece as to why a lot of people lose touch with their inner child. They lose touch with really tapping into themselves and seeing if they're good in a situation. This is how, whenever certain red flags or certain things comes up that doesn't sit well with you or doesn't sit well with your spirit so much, you let it go by because you're not having a regular enough conversation and interaction with you and inner you to be clear on what do we like, what don't we like, where are we at, how do I feel today? Am I okay? Am I good? What do I need? To really have clarity on when you're seeing certain things, whether it's a yay or a nay on that situation or what you need to do to, rectify it. All right. Whenever you have more dialogue with self, the more you have clarity of what to do in certain situations that may really significantly impact you one way or another. But whenever you never tap in or stop or self-reflect or have these moments to really just check in on you, then everything you do becomes a byproduct of your union with your partner, to where your identity maybe gets lost in that and you become only a version of yourself that you know with them in the equation. And so without them, you're all discombobulated, which is never healthy, and it doesn't serve you, and it definitely doesn't serve them and a partner that they actually need. So make sure when you and your partner communicate, it is in a respectful way to make sure both of you feels heard and valued and like you both matter and you both feel understood. And to every one of your negative experiences that you have, 5x your positive ones. So almost make it a rule. If you guys have a loud enough negative moment that stands out, you should both commit to saying, all right, now, and even get excited about it. Make it a game. Okay, how can we create 5 experiences that are all positive now, right? Maybe it's one day and you do one each day, or maybe you do, something big that's positive and you do something small later on in the same day, whatever, however you want to mix it up. But it should be significant enough to where it's tracked in your mind and identified as this positive moment, right? So 5x your positive moments to every one negative one. And then thirdly, you have to create individuality and unity. So both of you should sit down to yourselves and collectively and say, hey, here's a time we're going to allot for us to go do our thing. Or here's the things that, I know you like, it's your thing, but I honestly don't really care about it that much. I do it to support you, right? But is there a space where you could do some of this stuff on your own? And then here are the things in the middle that we like to do together. And here's some things that maybe I'm not so crazy about, or maybe you're not so crazy about, but I want to support you and compromise with you. And now we can do that stuff together. But there still should be some things that are just for you, by you, as much as there are things that are for the team, for the unit. If you and your partner need help learning the tools and the skills to cultivate and implement these 3 key traits into your relationship to make it as successful as possible as it can be so that you thrive, not just survive, then email or DM me the word coaching and we will get to work as long as you're truly ready to put that work in. Let's get it.